Right. Well, I guess the first thing to do would be to ask you to briefly introduce yourself, if that would be okay, and
Yeah.
your background and what you're currently doing with material science.
Okay, so I'm Sarah Baker and I'm a metallurgist at DSTL. I've been working for DSTL for just over 18 months now, and I specialise in light alloys and advanced manufacturing. So prior to joining DSTL, I worked in consultancy for a few years, and then I also worked for the European Space Agency. And then before that, I did a PhD in materials at Birmingham, and then did my integrated master's degree at Sheffield in physics and astrophysics.
Okay. So you seem, I mean, from that, it seems that you didn't start with material science and metallurgy. You started, like me, with physics as a background. So what made you sort of choose to transition then with your PhD from astrophysics to material science?
So when I finished my degree, I really enjoyed research. I really enjoyed the practical aspects of my degree, and I was kind of wanting to sort of do something which involved research, but also had an application as well. So I found a PhD position at Birmingham, and it was sponsored by Rolls-Royce, and so I really liked the idea of working on a sort of industrial materials problem and helping to kind of get to a solution. So that's the reason why I decided to kind of move into materials. And to be honest, before then I hadn't heard of material science. I didn't know of it when I was choosing my A-levels or choosing my course at university. So I don't know whether if I knew of it I would have made any different decisions. But yeah, I guess it's quite interesting how sort of the different paths that you take in life can sort of, I guess, influence your career choices.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly true that it's not exactly a pushed course in school. That, you know, it's not one of the, at least when I was at school, it was not one of the top suggested courses. But you did it, right, Dan? You went straight into material science.
Yeah, I think I did A-level physics, and I did a very basic material selection kind of tensile strength unit. I was quite interested in it, and from there I looked further into it, and I kind of discovered material science and engineering, and I thought, you know, I want to try that career path, and I've been down it ever since, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
did you do your materials degree at Sheffield?
Yeah, so I did my bachelor's of materials science and engineering here, and then I also did my master's in metallurgy here as well, and then progressed into the PhD after that.
Okay. So you said you enjoyed your practical aspect of your degree. I was the same. I really enjoyed my my undergraduate project and my my master's project as well. That's why I decided to go into the PhD. What was your integrated master's project, if I can ask?
Okay, this was a very long time ago, so I probably can't remember the details, but
Can't be that long.
we were making, it was a long time ago, we were making organic LEDs and characterising them and characterising, I guess, their sort of laser properties as such.
So was it sort of the material properties or of those organic LEDs that sort of gave you your shift of trajectory into sort of learning about material science? Was it to do with the project, or was it just you really wanted to continue doing research and material science was an option that kind of appealed to you?
Yeah, I think it was more of the latter really. So I really enjoyed my master's dissertation, but it didn't really sort of open my eyes to materials. I only was aware of materials from seeing this PhD when it was advertised on Birmingham's website. I think the research aspect made me think that I wanted to do a PhD. So I'm just getting a cup of tea. Thank you.
That's fine. Yeah. I came prepared with my water.
Yeah, so I guess after my degree, I realised I wanted to do a PhD, and then I kind of just looked at the different opportunities that were available. And I really don't know how I managed to come across it, to be honest, because I wasn't searching for material science PhDs. I think they were actually saying that they were looking for physicists, so that's probably how I managed to find it.
I think it's the same for me, actually. If I'm remembering it right on my end, that I finished my master's and was looking for PhDs, and one of the options was effectively keyword related. Otherwise, I'm not sure I would have ever noticed it on the sites I was using to search for a PhD. But it's hopefully one of the things that this series of videos will help with, is letting more people know that it's a thing that exists and is a good choice for people, especially seemingly coming from a physics background, because I've seen a few people coming from physics background to do material science and enjoying it, actually.
Yeah.
So,
I guess it brings its benefits as well. So I guess it's when working in an organisation, sort of diversity is really encouraged, and also diversity of thought. And sort of within the materials team that I work in, we have material scientists who have done materials at their degree, and we also have people who have come from backgrounds with chemistry and physics as well. So having that diversity of thought in your team is really helpful, and so it's great to be able to reach out to sort of different areas, to people from physics or sort of computational science going into materials or chemistry. It's really good.
Yeah. So what was your PhD or your NGD in the end? What was the title?
Right, so my PhD was in friction stir welding of titanium-64. So I was looking at you've heard of the materials paradigm, really. So you connect the process with the microstructure with the properties and performance. Basically, I was looking into sort of the materials paradigm of the friction stir welding process, trying to, I guess, optimize the parameters to get optimum microstructures and mechanical properties.
Okay. And did it all go well in the end, or was it more of a struggle than you thought it might have been?
I guess PhDs are always a bit of a struggle, aren't they?
Things I think they naturally are.
Don't always go to plan. So equipment breaks, and you have to sometimes do experiments more than one time. So there are always ups and downs, but I think that's what makes it worth. Well, that makes it worth it in the end. If you don't have the struggles, then I feel like you can't truly appreciate what you've accomplished at the end of your PhD.
Yeah. Would you have said, and this is just sort of I guess a personal question, would you have said it was harder or the same or easier than you had initially expected it to be going into it, based on what you knew at the time?
I wouldn't say it was harder. I guess it was just to be expected. I guess if you're studying for a PhD, you know that it's not going to be easy, and you know that there are going to be challenges. So yeah, I was up for the challenge, so I didn't mind too much.
Okay. So just from that, then, if your sponsor was Rolls-Royce, if that's right, for the PhD, how did that end up moving you sort of out of academia into consultancy?
So before I worked in consultancy, I did I guess, essentially a postdoc position at ESA. So that was almost a bit of a transition, I think, from academia to industry. So it was kind of like a halfway house. And then when I guess when I was working at ESA, I quite fancied moving into sort of industry, and so that's when I worked in consultancy. Quite like the idea of working on multiple different projects, and that's why consultancy stood out to me. So you could sort of do short projects and work across all different kinds of industries, which was quite appealing at the time.
Is it more challenge-based? I guess like each company has different things going on and different things they need to solve. So do you enjoy the problem-solving aspect of it?
Yeah, that was really good at the time. And then I guess it's quite strange then, because after working in consultancy, I decided then to go and focus on one sector, so working in defence. And so far, I've loved working at the STI. It's great.
I suppose we should clarify for people that don't know what DSTL stands for. Defence Science Technology Laboratory, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. So we're an executive agency of MOD. So we do the science and technology research for the government.
Okay, just moving back to the ESA stuff, was that planned, or was it sort of a fluke, sort of you happened to have met some people working with the ESA, or was it like, did you put out 100 job applications kind of thing?
I think I don't know whether it will be the same with the other people that you've interviewed, but with my career to date, it's been kind of meeting people at the right time and sort of developing connections. And so I think that's one thing to emphasise. Whenever you get opportunities to meet people, say at conferences or with industrial meetings, just try and network as much as you can. Because all the opportunities have just basically come about from just speaking to the right people at the right time. So I guess I've been quite fortunate, but there's never been a plan, and I've kind of just gone with the flow and sort of changed career or jobs when I fancied a different challenge. There's never been kind of like a massive structured plan. And I think that's fine. Like, you don't need to have a whole sort of plan set for your career and for your life. You can, in my opinion, I think you can be a bit flexible.
No, I agree, and I think it's probably quite reassuring for a lot of people to know that, you don't need this sort of grand plan, and as long as you're putting yourself out there, things.
Yeah.
At least in material science, there's enough to go around that you'll be able to find these opportunities.
Yeah, I think putting yourself out of your comfort zone is really important. So always testing yourself and making sure you're ready for your next challenge, and then all these different opportunities will become open to you.
You could say that doing the PhD is one of those things that's putting you out of your comfort zone.
Exactly, yeah.
Would you? I think I probably know the answer to this, given what you've been talking about so far. But would you say that doing the PhD was worth it for you?
For me, yeah, 100%. But then a PhD, I guess, isn't right for everyone. I think you have to be really sort of focused on the PhD, and you must really enjoy it as well. So there's been many nights for me, and I'm sure for other PhD students, where you've spent until the early hours of the morning working on equipment, or you've had to go into the lab at the weekends to finish up an experiment. And so, I think you just have to really want it and really enjoy it to do one. So for me, it was perfect, but I can understand how it's not necessarily important for everyone else.
Yeah, we're both current PhD students, Daniel and myself, and I know that I've even recently spent a few early hour days sorting various bits out for the PhD.
That
I
cohort
personally
was
haven't.
That cohort was a lot bigger at the start as well. We lost quite a few people early on who
Yeah.
didn't really realize what the PhD entailed, and
I suppose did you lose? Were you on a CDT at all, or was it just a pure PhD for you?
I guess it's essentially a CDT, but it wasn't called that. To be honest, I forget the name of it, but it was part of a strategic partnership with Rolls-Royce and Cambridge and Swansea University. I think it might have been called a UTC.
So a CDT in all but name, I suppose.
Cohort. Yeah, essentially.
Did everyone in your cohort sort of pass their Viva in the end?
I think so, yes. I can't remember anyone in the cohort dropping out. I'm just trying to think. I think there must have been only, say, a handful of people at Birmingham University. So I don't think that it potentially is as big as the one in Sheffield. I'm not sure how many people are in your cohort at Sheffield.
Well, between Sheffield and Manchester in our year, there were 21, I think.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's a similar size then, or maybe bigger. I'm not sure.
Although, and I might be wrong on the numbers, Daniel, but I think we're down to 15, maybe 16 or 15. And a few people are on leaves due to the global situation at the moment, affecting work. But I think you're right in that the PhD isn't for everyone, but if you are someone who is interested in doing one, it can be very worthwhile. Just
exactly.
One thing I suppose is just for the record, we were told at our masters, and I don't know if it's the same for both of you, that if what you're aiming for post PhD is a position in industry or the field, it can be just as effective to do a master's and then move straight in and have 3 years working for a company or in an industry, as it can be to be trained on the PhD, because effectively it's a training course. So that is another option open for people.
That's definitely what I've experienced as well. So lots of people where I work now, they're at a similar position as I am, and they joined the SDL as soon as they graduated from university, and they're also similar age, so it's just a different path that you can take, and you can get to the same place in the end.
Yeah, I think that's something that's good to remember, is that the choices aren't they don't set everything in stone.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, you choose to do physics and astrophysics for an undergraduate degree, for example, and then shift gears when something else becomes interesting for you and do materials science. And I'm sure if another challenge sort of catches your eye in a few years, I'm sure that will be possible with the experience that you've gained doing research in materials science to sort of transition that into another area.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important just to continually challenge yourself and want to improve in whatever you're doing, and sort of taking steps in order to do that.
Oh, cool. I suppose one thing to mention would be ask, I suppose, and I know that being a company that works with the MOD, you may be somewhat limited in what you can tell us, but is there anything particularly interesting that you have worked on in your 18 months at DSTL, or that you're working on currently, that's particularly interesting, or materials challenges, that kind of thing that people might be interested in?
So I guess one quite significant piece of work which I've been doing over the past 18 months, which has just come to an end, is that I've been writing a strategy for our materials programs for DSTL and wider mod on where we should be focusing our attention in terms of light alloy research. So it's involved a lot of work, so engaging with the military really to understand what their problems are with the platforms, and then sort of, I guess, assessing what's out there and the technologies and the materials in industry, and what's also been done in academia to try and sort of meet the challenges which our military face, and then also anticipate the challenges which they're going to face in next generation and generation after next platforms. So it's been quite an exciting piece of work, and it's something that I'm proud of. So yeah, that's almost come to an end.
It sounds impressive, especially because it's not a departure, but it's a different take on using your knowledge from material science, right? So it's not necessarily doing the research, but using what you know about research and the work in the area to inform decision making.
Yeah, that's actually probably one interesting point you've made, James. So lots of the work that we do in the STL is about kind of steering research and identifying where we should be focusing our attention, and identifying, I guess, what sort of technologies and materials might be showstoppers, and having that knowledge to sort of not invest in things which we don't think will be worthwhile. So we don't have any kind of in-house capabilities ourselves, and we really rely on working with industry and academia to sort of deliver our research. The collaboration is like really important to us.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've noticed then between industry and academia? Just in case anyone was trying to decide on which career path suited them better post PhD, from the outside, from your perspective, working with both groups, about both groups that you sort of noticed as a major disparity between the two.
That's a really good question. So I guess from my experience of working in industry, I tend to work on sort of shorter problems, whereas I guess in academia you might spend like years and years looking into sort of one area,
one specific problem.
Whereas maybe it's a bit more open or more broad in industry. It's tough, but I'm not really sure how to answer that one, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry, it's a difficult question, I suppose. It's just something that occurred to me based on what you're just talking about. But I think that's a good answer, that industry often prioritizes time-scaled projects and pushing out a result, and academia can often spend, not always, but academia can often spend decades on one problem.
There's also one. Oh, sorry, James. I didn't mean.
No. Sorry, I was finished. Carry on, please.
No, I was going to say, sort of industry, I tend to focus on an end use or an application. So it, at the end of the day, it has to make money, and it has to have purpose, and it has to add value, which academia will do for sure. But then I guess they're a bit more flexible in order to sort of investigate things which they're curious about, which might not at that present time have an application.
Potential. Researching potential there.
Yeah, so perhaps they're looking at something which could have potential in, I don't know, say 30 or so years' time with no guarantee, whereas maybe industry are a bit more risk-averse and they don't have that flexibility.
Fusion being a good example. Always 50 years away.
Just to warn you guys, Sarah, did you say you had something at 11?
I do. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Well,
have you got enough information there? Or do you need to?
I mean, it's been interesting talking. We could probably keep going for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes easily. But if you have to go, then of course that's all we can keep you for. Thank you so much.
No problem, James. I was going to say, if you need to, like, say if you do your editing and you don't get the sort of snippets that you need, just let me know, and we can also just carry a conversation on and organise another Zoom call another time. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you,
thank
Sarah.
you so
That'd be
much
great.
for joining us, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much,
thank
Sarah.
you. It's been lovely speaking
Great
to you
time.
both,
Yeah,
and
you
enjoy
too.
the rest of your day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
too,
too.
Sarah, and I'll see you in a week and a half.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes. Speak soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right.